So I pretty much was able to get all my images together in my images folder. This is the already designed brochure that we were looking at. So I have this element of design here that is kind of like a mountain graphic that's been kind of abstracted basically. And so I will show you how I made this. So we'll go online, and I actually found a mountain silhouette, and this one's actually pretty big. This is so I just looked up mountain silhouette, went to Google Images. There's also this handy tool here where you can go to Tools, go to Size, and go to Large if you need to. I didn't really need to do that because I found this one over here. But if you need to do that, you can filter just the largest images to the top, which is great for print. But if you do a control click on this, open in a new tab, a lot of times this will work out really well to get the full-sized image, not just the smaller thumbnail size. You can also right-click on a PC. So save image as. I'm just going to put that in my images folder. I'm going to rename it. Mountain Sill is fine. Save that. And so I'm going to bring that into Illustrator. So I have Illustrator open. Let's just do create new. It doesn't really matter what size it is, but I'll just make 8.5 by 11 is fine. CMYK color, whatever. That's good. 300 ppi. Not a bad idea to set it up that way. If we do a file place to bring in that mountain silhouette image, I need to go into my new images folder. Hopefully this is it. Yeah, so I have it sorting by date modified. I have it on the list view here, and then date added. And so it'll bring the most recent things to the top, which is kind of handy. And then just place that in by clicking. And then let's do an image trace. So make sure you're in Essentials Classic, the workspace here up here in Illustrator to do a quick image trace. I think maybe I'll just do either black and white logo or silhouettes. We'll see how it goes. Sometimes you do this and it doesn't turn out very good. Okay, that looks pretty good. It's a two-part process to trace an image this way. So let's just push expand one more time, and then if we zoom in, you can see that, and if we use the direct selection tool, you can see all the little anchor points. So this is now totally vectorized. So I'm just going to delete the background, the white background with the white arrow tool. And I'm just going to click and drag and hold down as I'm dragging, and then let up. And then I'll have all this selected. I'm going to delete that. And now I have this, which is great. And then I can do a Command C, Command V to copy it, object, arrange, actually transform, and then we're going to do a reflect. You can also do it over here. Let's see here. Well, maybe you can't. I thought you could in the properties panel, but it doesn't look like you can. So maybe you can, but I'm not sure. Object, transform, reflect, and I'm going to do it horizontally. So I've been able to reflect this same image, and I'm just going to create kind of an interesting abstracted mountain shape. It almost looks like a mountain that's reflecting into a lake. So if we click and drag over these two things to get both of them selected, we can actually use, let's see. So get on the black arrow tool and then click and drag to select both. And then the Pathfinder will show up. I don't think it was showing up when I was on the white arrow tool for some reason, so you might need to be on the black arrow tool to make it show up. But we can actually do this unite, and it'll create one solid image after we do that. We can also use the shape builder tool to do that, but the Pathfinder works as well. So if I want to change, the color, I can do that here, but I'm just going to do a Command C for copy out of Illustrator. And I'm not going to save anything out. I'm just going to go straight into my new file. And I'm going to go to page 1 because I'm starting with page 1. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit and put my pages panel back in. Now do Command V. So I've brought this image in, and I can kind of just start sizing this down. Okay, so something like this is what I have. It's obviously a different color. Luckily, when you do a Command C, Command V out of Illustrator into InDesign, we can actually really easily start changing the colors of, but I think I might just leave it kind of like some sort of color because it's hard to see if it's white. But basically that's going to be kind of these shapes here. So we'll start bringing in some of these images here in a little minute. So now we'll bring in that image that's going to go on our front panel. I'm going to actually use this rectangle frame tool. I'm going to click it. I want to have it go all the way to the bleed line because I'm going to have these images go all the way to the edge of my brochure. So I'm using the rectangle frame tool. Make sure you're on Essentials Classic. And then let's go to frame fitting. Maybe let's just do an auto fit on this within the properties panel. So if your properties panel is not open, just click it open, frame fitting, auto fit, and then do a file place or a Command D for dog. And I'm gonna go into column view so that inside of my images folder so that I can kind of look and see which images I'm on. So here I have my front panel image that I used. So we'll bring that in, and that will automatically pretty much size down your image to fit as well as it can in the box that you drew with the frame rectangle frame tool if you have this auto fit started. There's other options here too, but I thought auto fit seemed to be the easiest one to go with. And I think that this is better than having to zoom way out and size everything down with the free transform. This is a relatively new tool that I'm just actually myself learning to use. They're always updating the software, so just thought I'd show you that. So I'm actually going to select the image once again and do arrange and maybe send to back. So it's underneath this mountain graphic. And I'm just going to do a Command C, Command V, and just start kind of, maybe I'll do a shift to get both of these selected and turn down the opacity a little bit on these guys. That's kind of what I did with the, on the other one. So that's looking pretty good. And then we can add, let's see, how did I make this? So then we can add that kind of green area on the bottom with just the rectangle tool. Just going to click and drag a nice area, little rectangle here. I don't want a stroke on it, but I do want a fill color, so a nice way to do that is just to swap the color in here and then double click on it. So use this little swap fill and stroke thing, which is kind of handy. So I kind of want like a yellowy green. Nothing too bright. I think I'm in a RGB maybe. I'm not quite sure. Hopefully this isn't RGB. So if we go to color, yeah, I'm in CMYK, so I guess that's probably, I might want a little bit more of a yellow in the mix. So maybe something more like that. So that's looking pretty good. We'll just bring that all the way to the edge of this. Actually, I think what I need to do is maybe just bring it down to here. If I push W, I can kind of see my canvas a little bit better. And maybe I'll just bring this down to there, maybe, and then I'll push Shift. I'm on my arrow tool, and push Shift and get both of these things selected, and then we can move these down. I need to do an arrange, so I'll open up the properties panel and do arrange, bring to front, so that these are actually over the top. And basically those things are supposed to go the whole way across in one big line. So I'm going to have to stack them up a little bit. On the other one I definitely did them with white. So I guess I should probably change the color to white right now before I get too carried away. So I'm just going to go ahead and start kind of stacking these graphics up, making them white, and then just carrying them across the whole design. Okay, so I was able to do that by just kind of copying and pasting. So this is actually kind of a big mess, honestly, because there's like 50 of these things. Maybe not that quite that many, but if I click and drag with the black arrow tool and get all of these things selected at once, I can push Shift and then click on the things I don't want selected, like this image that ended up getting selected when I made my selection. And I'll click, while holding Shift, click on that, this green box, to deselect that. And then now I have only these images or these shapes selected, so I can just do a group. And that'll be a little bit easier to just move that around as one chunk if I need to. If I push W, I just want to make sure that all of my colors and all of my images are coming all the way around to this red bleed line, which it looks like everything is, so that's good. Push W again. So we're going to bring in the back panel image now. Okay, so we'll do that with the frame tool once again. So we'll just click on that. We'll kind of drag it down, filling in that panel. So make sure you're paying attention to your fold lines. Let's go to auto fit here. Let's check that before we bring anything in. We'll do a file place. We have this selected while we're doing this. We just drew this box with the frame tool. So we do a file place. And this is actually the image right on top that I want to use. And it will automatically, like I said, if we use our direct selection tool and click on that, it will automatically size it to proportionally to the size of the box that you drew. And this will actually show us like the actual size of our image. It's actually more of a landscape oriented JPEG image. Actually, this is a PNG, or no, this is a PSD. You can see right here in the links panel. But that is looking pretty good. Luckily, this little rectangle frame tool, if we use that plus the properties panel and that auto fit, it actually works really snazzy. So let's go back here to this tool, click off to deselect, and then re-click to select it. And just make sure that this is lining up really well with, you know, the edges here. Right on that template line, jutting up right against the image next to it. Something along those lines would be good. Okay, we're going to select it, and then I'm going to do an arrange, send to back, so it's underneath. So we're getting there. We're getting closer to where we need to be as far as our design goes. And on my other design, I did actually try to I'm going to try to actually line up the mountains, which there's a little bit of a problem because my bleed line, that makes it so my bleed line doesn't work very well. Oops. But I think what I'll do is I'll just do a Command C, Command V, and make a copy of this image, and then I'm gonna flip it. So I can actually do it up here really quickly, flip vertical, and then I can just, oops, sorry, I accidentally grabbed it right here, which is that weird spot to grab stuff. Grab it off to the side, and I'm gonna actually just use the sky. This is just a little trick sometimes that you just end up having to do. If I do a Command plus, I can kind of zoom in so I can see better. But sometimes I end up having to do this because, you know, the proportion of something it's just not quite right. So if I shift and click on both while holding down shift and click on both, I can select them both at the same time, and I can line them up perfectly on either edge, basically on the left edge or the right edge, just so that they're lined up really well. If I push W, more than likely we're not going to be able to see that seam. Especially when in the sky. Skies work really well for this little trick. And sometimes I do a Command G just to group them together. It just makes it a little bit cleaner when I go to grab that. I'll have to send it back with the arrange button on the properties panel. But so that's looking pretty good. And now my mountains are lining up pretty nicely, like I did on this design. And then I can start bringing in these mountain graphics. Same mountain graphic that I had here. I think I just shrunk them down and put them at an angle. So I'll do that next. So here I am with the mountain graphic. I'm going to use the free transform tool on this to shrink it down. I'm just going to, you know, just bring them down in size a little bit and then maybe skew them. I can't remember which. Okay, so they're going like that. So we'll just kind of, while we're still on the free transform tool, we can kind of go to the edge to get this little thing, like this arrow that kind of looks kind of funny, and then I can just kind of skew it there and then do arrange, send to back so it's not over the top of the back panel. And then I'll start bringing in this images that I put here on the other design. But I'm running out of time in this video, so we'll have to do that next time.